Um, I guess the role of the doctor, just a little bit. I know the doctor plays a small role, but again, kind of another Shakespearean trope. The doctor seems to always be a wise man of some kind.
Yes.
Can you talk about a little bit about the doctor and what he's about and what he says?
Yes, the poor man is called to care for Lady Macbeth, who it's obvious to everyone is very ill. And when he observes her walking about, he says she is obviously very sick, and he's aware of what she's saying as possibly politically problematic, something that could really get the power structure in trouble, and the power structure being the Macbeths. But I'm just trying to find, here we are. Just trying to find that section. The doctor says, after having observed her washing, imaginarily washing her hands and saying the things that she says, who would have known the old man had so much blood in him? I mean, it's very damning, everything that she says. He says, foul whisperings are abroad, unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles. And there we are with the nature being off again. Infected minds to their deaf pillows will discharge their secrets. So sick minds will speak their secrets in their sleep if they don't speak them anywhere else. More needs she the divine than the physician. She's more in need of spiritual assistance than physical assistance here. God forgive us all. Look after her. Remove from her the means of all annoyance. So he's worried about her being suicidal, and still keep eyes upon her. So good night. My mind she has mated and amazed my sight, I think, but dare not speak. So he's really now in on what he has a very good idea of what's been going on. And so he's the speaker. He's the speaker of the truth. More needs she the divine than the physic.
Yeah. Do you think Lady Macbeth is the villain of the play? Is she the villain of the play?
That's a tough one. I think she and Macbeth get to share that title, because they're not, because to be like, they're not, Macbeth is not Richard III. Richard III starts out saying, I have evil plans, and watch me put these into practice. And then after he's done them, he comes back to the audience and soliloquy and says, look at that. Wasn't that cool? Right. He is consistently a villain. Right. I think between Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, they together make up all the ingredients of a Richard III, but it takes two of them, because each of them have more twinges of conscience than Richard III does. So it takes two of them to kind of overcome those, so to speak, overcome those pangs of conscience that would stop most people from doing things like this.
And Richard III is also visited by ghosts, as Macbeth is visited by the ghost of Banquo.
Yes. Yes.
What is Shakespeare doing there? Why does he use pangs of conscience with ghosts? Why does he use ghosts?
Well, I think ghosts are a perfect metaphor for guilt. If you've murdered someone and they come back as a ghost, Banquo's presence his presence as a ghost, for instance, at the dinner is just a fantastic visual representation of Macbeth's crazed, paranoid guilt at that point. And I think just as for Richard III, when he has that sleepless night before the Battle of Bosworth Field, that lying there and seeing everybody he's killed parade by and say, you will not do well tomorrow. We're gonna keep you up all night, basically, making you feel really bad as we can manage to make you feel, given who you are. And so I think they are absolutely like representations, and in some ways projections of the mind. In some ways they're like conscience taking bodily form, or taking, phantom form. Yeah.
And the play ends with Macduff beheading Macbeth.
Yes. Yes.
Is there a significance with Macbeth being beheaded?
Other than that, he's the wrong head of the country, and beheading him is symbolically taking him, cutting him off from power. I can't think of, although it was also, Cawdor also got beheaded at the beginning of the play. So I wonder if there's some kind of, there's some kind of need for symmetry there. It was also what you did with criminals and people who were treasonous, was that they were beheaded and their heads were displayed on pikes in order to say to people, don't commit treason. This is what will happen to you. So his head being paraded around like that is, I think, reminiscent of that practice.
An actual practice in Elizabethan and Jacobean times was to do that.
Yes, there was a spot called Traitor's Gate, and there would be just a multitude of these rotting heads in various stages of rotting on these pikes for people to see. Don't cross the king or queen. Yeah.
And what do you think Shakespeare at the end of the day is trying to say with Macbeth? One or two, or do you think there's a single?
It's hard to boil it down to a single thing, but perhaps it does go back to that cliche, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Or perhaps that some people, when they get a taste of power, will do anything to get more of it, and that there might be something intrinsic to power that can be destructive to a person's self, right? That it does something to the mind that is not ameliorative or healthy. Yeah.
It seems to be the way of all dictators or tyrants throughout history, right? That eventually they will be defeated or killed or exiled or something.
Yes. And yeah, they will get what's coming to them eventually, right? It just may take a little time and cost some misery to the people.
At the end of the day, what we sow is what we reap.
I think that's a very good summing up of it. Yes. Yes.
Do you think it's one of his greatest plays?
I think it's one of his very good plays. And I mean, I think I've kind of hinted at this earlier, but I think it's one of the most frightening plays that he wrote. And no, it is the most frightening play that he wrote. And I love this. I love the lore around it. I think it's very fascinating that there is so much lore. And the idea that it might actually have some kind of inherent curse to it. I was teaching it one year, and I was talking about how there were all these stories, right? And I was telling some of the stories, and the class got really, really quiet as I was talking. And I think it was because they were actually getting sort of freaked out. And while everyone was sitting very, very still, we have these motion detecting lights, so that if there's no motion in the room, the lights will turn off. Right when I got to the end of that discussion, the lights went out. And you could have heard a pin drop. I mean, everyone in the class was just sort of, and it was just the light turned off because no one was moving. Maybe because they were bored stiff. I don't know, but it was it was both funny and creepy at the same time.
This was while discussing Macbeth specifically?
This was in the middle of a class. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So.
Well, how have you seen students respond to Macbeth?
They love it because they're just fascinated by how bad he is and how bad all of it is. They're used to watching really gruesome stuff, some of them, and so they've already been steeped in kind of, unfortunately, I think, violent culture. So when they run into it, I think maybe the impression sometimes is, wow, Shakespeare was really cutting edge. This work is really pretty spooky.
Mhm.
And the film versions I've seen of it, when they're good, they are very, very scary.
Mhm.